Today we are going to work on using a map scale. Yesterday you were introduced how to use a map scale on a map, and we're going to practice today. So I'm going to walk you through a couple of the questions using two different maps. So it's the yellow paper that you took home. One side says Welcome to Cedar Grove Park. The other side has a map of Ohio. We'll do a couple of each of these, and then you'll do some independently. But watching this video will help guide you because you're new at using a map scale. Yesterday, you also took home your ruler. If for some reason you've already misplaced it or you can't find it, if you have a piece of paper that has like an edge on it, that will work as well. But you should have your ruler. That's what we're going to use, and we're going to use the centimeter side today. Alrighty, so I know you've looked probably already at this map, and you can see the map scale down at the bottom, that it's telling you from here to here that that's 100 yards, and that's the scale that we're going to use when we measure distances on this side, on this map. And our directions say to use the map scale to answer the following questions. So we are going to use this to figure out different distances. The first question says, how far is it from the camping area to the swimming pool? Well, there's some things we need to set up. We need to take our ruler, and I have a pen that I'm using. That's just so that it'll show up a little bit better on camera. You should use a pencil so that you can erase things. I'm going to put my ruler right up underneath our map scale. And I notice from one edge to the other, it's 3 centimeters. It fits pretty much perfectly. And they're saying that that's 100 yards. So I'm actually going to put a little mark on my ruler. And I'm going to write that it's 100 yards. You don't need to do that, but putting a mark right there so that you know that 3 centimeters, that's 100 yards on this map. And then yesterday we talked about putting a halfway mark on how we measure it, because halfway points come up a lot when we're measuring. That's at 1.5. So what's half of 100? If from here to here is 100, this would be halfway. So how many yards would that be? If you were thinking 50, that's correct. This halfway point at 1.5 centimeters, that's 50 yards. And I'm just going to jot that down there so that you can see it, but you don't need to write it on your ruler. Our first question is, how far is it from the camping area to the swimming pool? If for some reason you don't have a ruler, you can use another piece of paper and put it right up next to that scale and make those same marks that we just did. That this is 100 yards and that this is 50 yards. And you'll use it the same way. It's nice and straight, just like your ruler. So we're going to measure from the camping area to the swimming pool. We've got to locate it on our map. Have you found it already? Here's the swimming pool and here's the camping area. I'm going to take my ruler and use it right now as a straight edge. And I'm going to draw a straight line between these two places. And that's what I'm going to use to measure. I'm noticing, looking at my ruler, it's about 14 centimeters. Now we're going to make some marks on our map. From 0 to 3 centimeters, we said that's 100 yards. I'm going to make a mark. You are too, with your pencil. Then I'm going to slide my ruler down to that mark I just made. And here's 0, and here's the 3 centimeters again, and I'm going to make another mark. So the first mark was 100 yards. 3 centimeters, which on this map scale, that's 100 yards. I'm going to keep moving it. That's another 3 centimeters. So that's 200 yards. I'm going to move it again. Another 3 centimeters. That's another 100 yards. Another 3 centimeters. That's another 100 yards. And from here to here, it's a little bit past 50, but we're not quite at 100. So 100, 200, 300, 400. We're just a little bit past 50. So if you were thinking that it was 450 yards or 475 yards, I would accept that. And that's what we're going to write on the line. Our next question is, how far is it from the camping area to the garbage cans? Here's our camping area. Have you found the garbage cans? Right down here. I can actually turn the map so that I can do a better job of drawing a straight line. I'm going to use my ruler and draw a straight line. And I've noticed that it's about 7 centimeters. We're going to make our marks again. Here's where I start. There's 3 centimeters, so I know that's 100 yards. I'm going to move it again. There's another 3 centimeters, 200 yards. And that's about 50 more centimeters because that's where we marked the halfway point. 100 plus another 100 plus 50. So if you were thinking 250 yards, that's correct. If for some reason you don't have your ruler, it works the same way. That straight edge, those marks that we just placed, if you notice, I just put that right underneath there. You can see that even using the straight edge of a paper, it will work identically. Here's our mark for 100 yards, another 100 yards, and 50. You'll complete those remaining 3 questions on this side. Make sure that you draw a line to each of the places that you're measuring. That'll help you. On the flip side, we have the state of Ohio, and there are the actual cities that are in our state. But in this case, the map scale, if you are already kind of looking at it, it's a little bit different than the one on the previous page. We're still going to use centimeters though. So I'm going to hold up my ruler underneath the new map scale for this map, and I notice that it ends at 2 centimeters. So that's where I'm going to mark it. But this map scale says that this distance represents 50 miles. So 2 centimeters, that's 50 miles. I'm writing it down on my ruler so that I can see it, so you can see it, but you don't need to do that. But you can put a little mark right here on your ruler if you'd like. If you're using pencil, you should be able to erase it. I'm also going to put the midway point, the halfway point. What would be half of 50? What would be in the middle? If you were already thinking 25, that's correct. So halfway is 25 miles. So now we're going to use this map scale, 2 centimeters equaling 50 miles, to help us figure distance between these cities. And it says use the map scale to answer the following questions. How far is it from Cleveland to Canton? Well, we have to find Cleveland and Canton. And if you were looking and you found them, they're up in the northern part of our state. I'm going to turn my map so that I can draw a straight line. I'm going to connect these 2 cities. And I notice when I draw my straight edge, it is actually 2 centimeters. So what did our map scale say? What was 2 centimeters? If you're thinking 50 miles, you are correct. So I'm going to write 50 miles on the line. The next 2 cities are Toledo and Cleveland. Where are Toledo and Cleveland? They are also up at the northern part of our state, up near Lake Erie. I'm going to use my ruler to draw a straight line between the 2 cities. And now I have to figure out how many miles that is. So let's start making our little marks. From Toledo to our first 50 miles, 2 centimeters, that's where I'm going to make my first mark. So it's at least 50 miles. I'm going to move it down and make another mark. That's another 50 miles. So we're already at how many miles? If you're thinking 100, that's correct. And then we're moving it a little bit further. It hits our halfway mark about, getting really close. That's 25. So 50 plus 25. You're thinking that's 125, fourth graders? That's correct. It's 125 miles between Toledo and Cleveland. You'll do the rest of the questions the same way. You'll find the cities, draw a straight line between them, and then use your ruler, using your knowledge of the map scale, which in this case is 2 centimeters. It's the same as 50 miles. You're going to figure out the distance between those cities. You are well on your way to learning how to use a map scale. Keep at it, fourth graders. You've got this.